Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. We are back. Hope you all are doing really well. We're back to talk about the latest Everton news and transfer rumours. We're going to talk about James Rodriguez once again. We're going to talk about Sporting midfielder Matheus Nunes, who has once again been linked with a move to Everton. We're going to talk about Moise Kean, and we're going to get involved with all of the latest Everton news and rumours. Obviously, we sat down on Monday and we spoke about James Rodriguez and his future, and whether that will be at Everton Football Club or not. We spoke about some of the reports that were stating that Everton were actively sort of looking to sell James Rodriguez, or at least have told James Rodriguez that if an acceptable offer comes in, he will be sold. Tried to give both sides to the story. The side of obviously James Rodriguez being an unbelievable footballer and not wanting to sell him. Of course, I want James Rodriguez to stay at Everton. I hope James Rodriguez is an Everton player come next season. However, I also looked at the side of Everton's point of view in this in regards to FFP and our financial situation, James Rodriguez's contract, his wages, and I sort of understood why Everton would have the stance of saying if an acceptable offer comes in, they would be entertaining it. It is massively disappointing, of course, because obviously we all want to see James Rodriguez in an Everton shirt. We all want to see James Rodriguez at Goodison Park. We had some news from the club yesterday about the date that the tickets will go on sale for the opening game of the season against Southampton on the 14th of August. So just, I think it's 10 days away now, is it? 9 days away, something like that. It looks at the moment, albeit nothing's being confirmed, it looks at the moment like that game could be potentially a full house, full capacity. We know Southampton have had their tickets on sale as well and available for their fans to buy. So, given that we're 9 or 10 days away from potentially a full Goodison Park and a full capacity Goodison Park, it would be really disappointing if we don't at least get to see James Rodriguez in the flesh as an Everton player at Goodison Park at least once before he leaves the football club. But if he is to leave the football club, obviously we got to see him over in Florida, which was absolutely amazing, and amazing for those American toffees over in America to see James Rodriguez in the flesh. But I really want to see James Rodriguez witnessing the Goodison Park atmosphere, and to be honest with you, I think that atmosphere on the 14th of August against Southampton will be absolutely unbelievable. I really do. The majority of Evertonians haven't been to Goodison, including myself, for the best part of 20 months, something like that. And the first game back, of course, first game of the season, I just think it'll be absolutely electric at Goodison, and it would be nice for a player like James Rodriguez to witness what Goodison Park is like, with a full capacity crowd, because obviously he's never witnessed that. But the rumours are coming in thick and fast, which suggests that his future may not lie at Everton, which, look, ultimately, I didn't really give an opinion on Monday. We talked about both sides of the story. We talked about both sorts of reasons as to why Everton may want to keep him and may want to sell him, but I didn't really give an opinion. Look, my opinion on the situation is I want James Rodriguez to stay at Everton. I really do want James Rodriguez to stay at Everton. I think he's an absolutely world-class footballer. I think he is a world-class footballing icon in regards to his global presence and his global fame, and I think that's something that Everton, could get the most out of. I know some people will say, it doesn't matter how big of a footballer he is, Cam, it's about what he's doing on the pitch, but it does matter, because that's how you market your football club, that's how you get your football club's name out there. I thought Everton were fantastic last summer in putting the billboards in Miami and New York and Liverpool and obviously in Colombia. I thought that was brilliant, because that's Everton getting the name out there. That's, football fans who might not have heard of Everton before going into a shop, seeing James Rodriguez's name on the back of a shirt and picking it up, and that shirt obviously being an Everton shirt. So it will be really disappointing. It will be. The rumours over the last 24 hours or so are stating that, it might be a situation that is, comes to fruition. We might be looking at a scenario where James Rodriguez is leaving the football club, and we might be looking at a scenario where Sporting midfielder Matheus Nunes is joining Everton. Obviously, Everton were heavily linked with Matheus Nunes a couple of months ago. There was strong rumours as to suggest that, the midfielder had already signed the deal at Everton and was just waiting for the green light to be given from whoever Everton's new manager was going to be. So this was even before Rafael Benitez took over as Everton manager. There was strong rumours regarding Matheus Nunes joining the football club, and they obviously all sort of faded out massively. I think Record, who were a Portuguese publication, were often sort of, putting out their information about Matheus Nunes and saying that, he's practically an Everton player, and Sporting have accepted the bid and this, that and the other. I think the fee was around €15 million. But it was all waiting for the green light from the new manager. And I think a couple of the reports at the time said that if Nuno was going to be the new manager, then there'd be no issue because Nuno likes him as a player. But then when Rafael Benitez come in, like I said, reports started to really sort of fade away a little bit. There was even some stuff saying that Rafael Benitez doesn't want to sign him and that the deal's broken down and that Nunes will remain a Sporting player. Well, we have had some information over the last 24 hours or so regarding this deal, and this is coming from Pedro Almeida, who is a Portuguese insider specialist in transfers, and he has said that Everton are close to reaching an agreement with Sporting for Matheus Nunes. The English team have offered €15 million and €3 million bonuses, to which the Portuguese team is analysing the offer. Again, pretty much come out of nowhere, this one, didn't it? We were all sort of thinking that the Matheus Nunes stuff was, dead in the water. We were all thinking that this was a situation that wasn't going to come to any sort of fruition, and now all of a sudden, the rumours are back. The Portuguese media are all over it. There was a Portuguese media source television programme last night saying that the deal is done and that Matheus Nunes is signed for Everton. There was a tweet that was put out, which was then subsequently quote tweeted by a Sporting Lisbon, or a Sporting, I think it's called Sporting now, a Sporting fan Twitter page who said that basically this source is used to making up nonsense and creating stories that don't exist. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But like I said, Pedro Almeida, who seems to be, a reputable source. Again, I'm not going to sit here and try and tell people how reliable certain sources are, because I wouldn't do that because I don't know. But, he is saying that Everton are close to reaching an agreement with Sporting for Matheus Nunes. Look, again, I haven't really seen Matheus Nunes an awful lot. I can't lie. I've seen him in bits and bobs. I've obviously seen clips of him, bearing in mind that, you have to take whatever you watch on the internet of any footballer with a massive bucket of salt. I remember watching clips of, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of footballers who turned out to be really bad. I remember watching clips of them on YouTube beforehand and thinking that they were going to come in and be the next Lionel Messi and we were going to win every single trophy we could possibly win with them. But ultimately, whatever you watch on the internet has been put there for a reason, and that's to make whoever you're watching look absolutely unbelievable, and that's not always the case. But I have watched Matheus Nunes on a number of times in games last season, like I said, not an awful lot, but on a couple of occasions, and he looks like a good progressive player. He's a midfielder who wants to pick the ball up, wants to move forward. Obviously he's young, €15 million, not a massive amount of money whatsoever. Would he be a replacement for James Rodriguez? I've seen some people discussing, with the news about James Rodriguez and whether or not his future will be at Everton, and then obviously the Matheus Nunes news coming in as well. Does that mean that Matheus Nunes will be a replacement for James? I don't think he would. I don't think he's that type of midfielder, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But I think he would be a good addition to the squad. He's young, he looks hungry, he looks like he always wants to pick the ball up, he always wants to move forward, he always wants to change games. So look, again, I think that, if we could bring in a player like Matheus Nunes, I think it will be a positive signing. Don't get me wrong, I'd still be quite frustrated if we allowed James Rodriguez to go and didn't replace that creativity, because I don't think that Matheus Nunes replaces the James Rodriguez creativity. But I think he would be a good signing in the midfield, maybe to replace a Fabian Delph or an Andre Gomez if we can get one of those players off of the wage bill. But yeah, that is the latest regarding Matheus Nunes. That is coming from, as I said, Pedro Almeida, who has said that Everton are close to reaching an agreement with Sporting for Matheus Nunes. The English team have offered €15 million and €3 million bonuses, to which the Portuguese team are analysing the offer. Again, like I said, there was a couple of Portuguese media sources last night saying that Everton were a little bit probably closer down the line than what we probably are in regard to the Matheus Nunes transfer. Again, I'd take them with an absolutely massive pinch of salt, because ultimately, we've heard it all before, haven't we, really? This transfer sort of saga is literally the definition of we've heard it all before, haven't we? A month ago, we were told that Matheus Nunes was an Everton player. In fact, some people were even absolutely sort of sold on the fact that he was in the Titanic in Liverpool City Centre and he was all ready to sign, because somebody had apparently spotted him checking into the Titanic hotel in town. It wasn't him, it was just a picture of two people from the back who looked absolutely nothing like him. So again, I'd take this one with a massive pinch of salt. I really, really would. Would I like to see Matheus Nunes come in? I think he could offer us something different, certainly. He'd be a much younger alternative to a Fabian Delphin and Andre Gomez, and I think he'd be, somebody that could be much more impactful than those players. However, again, whether or not we are close to reaching an agreement, whether or not, Matheus Nunes, whether or not Everton are even really interested in Matheus Nunes, I'm sure that'll be... I'm sure we'll find that out in the coming days and weeks, but that is the latest from Pedro Almeida, as I said. A little bit of news on Moise Kean now. A couple of interesting bits on Moise Kean actually coming from last night. The first coming from Fabrizio Romano, who was live on his Twitch stream. Fabrizio Romano, I'm sure you all know him, very reliable journalist, very reliable source. He has a Twitch stream to which he goes on and talks about the latest transfer rumours and basically just answers questions about transfers and which players are going where. And he was asked about Moise Kean, and he said Rafael Benitez is not willing to let Moise Kean leave Everton. Now, this could be taken out of context. I didn't watch the stream. I haven't seen a clip of what Fabrizio Romano was saying, but I know that he said something along those lines because it's being reported. However, I don't think this is strictly true, and I think this could be taken out of context. I don't think Rafael Benitez will allow Moise Kean to leave on loan. I don't. And to be honest with you, that's the right decision for me. That is absolutely the right decision. Allowing Moise Kean to leave Everton on loan this season is a lose-lose situation for Everton Football Club. If you sell him, then you at least bring in some form of income, whether it be 20 million, 25 million, 30 million, whatever it might be. It mightn't be as much as to what we want it to be, but at least you bring in some form of transfer fee, and you can then use that and utilise that money elsewhere in bringing players in. It would help with our financial fair play situation, let's be honest. I think the club, along with the majority of Evertonians, were probably thinking that Moise Kean would leave Everton Football Club this summer. I don't think any of us thought we'd be sitting here, in the first week of August talking about a potential, that Moise Kean would be a member of Everton's squad next season. I think we all sort of thought we'd be sitting here talking about a player who will almost certainly be leaving the football club. So a loan deal makes no sense to Everton Football Club. It makes all the sense in the world to PSG. There you go. Dan Boy says Canterbury show was misquoted. The sentence finished on loan. I watched the stream. There you go. So again, Fabrizio Romano coming out with information there that I don't think anybody is surprised by. Rafael Benitez won't allow Moise Kean to leave Everton Football Club on loan. Spot on. A loan deal, of course, will be what PSG wants, because what a loan deal does is it allows Moise Kean to go over to PSG for another season, which is what he wants. I think there's no disagreeing with that. I think we know what he wants. It allows PSG to escape any transfer fee. They wouldn't have to pay a transfer fee, obviously, if he was going on loan. And, which I think this next point goes under the radar a little bit when we're talking about loan deals, it knocks another year off Moise Kean's Everton contract, which subsequently means that next season, or the season after, if they were wanting to purchase him on a permanent deal, then he would cost a lot less money than what he'd cost now, because he's another year down in his contract. He's another year closer to his contract ending. So a loan deal for me is absolute nonsense, and Everton shouldn't even entertain it. In fact, Everton, if they pick the phone up and the word loan is mentioned in any sentence by any club with regards to Moise Kean, I'd just put the phone down straight away and I'd block the number, because we shouldn't be entertaining any form of potential loan deal for Moise Kean, because it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. There's no benefits to Everton Football Club. All as it does is take another year off his contract. It means we're without the player and we get nothing for it. Now, I do believe that if Everton were to receive a bid for Moise Kean, I do believe that we would sell him. I do, and this is where some of the latest rumours come into things, and this is where things become really, really interesting. Latest is coming from Rudy Galletti, who is a Italian journalist, I believe. Looks like he specialises in AC Milan. Obviously, I'm sure if you're on Twitter, you'll have heard of Rudy Galletti, and he has said that Inter Milan are already looking at possible replacements for Romelu Lukaku. Moise Kean and Luis Muriel are at the top of their list of replacements. Now, this is, of course, really, really interesting, because obviously, like we said, we seem to know Everton's stance on Moise Kean, which is that, we won't be allowing him to leave on loan. If somebody wants to acquire the services of Moise Kean, they will have to come in and buy him on a permanent deal. They will have to come in and give us a transfer fee for him. I don't think Everton have been shy in admitting that. I don't think any of us are sitting here now thinking that Everton would decline a bid for Moise Kean if one was to come in. I think Everton would absolutely sell Moise Kean if a bid was to come in, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I do, whether it be 25, 30 million euros, something like that. Obviously, it'd have to be, a bid that would be deemed reasonable, not like a silly £5 million bid or something stupid like that. It would have to be a bid that's deemed reasonable, but I believe that Everton would sell Moise Kean if a reasonable bid was to come in, and I think that's the right decision as well. To be honest with you, look, we don't know what Moise Kean's future holds, and he could stay at Everton Football Club and go on to be absolutely brilliant next season and score 15, 20 goals in the Premier League. But what we know is that he said at the end of last season in a social media post, he was very open in admitting that he'd like to rejoin PSG, and he hopes to see the PSG fans again next season. Obviously, he didn't have a great season in his first season at Everton Football Club in the Premier League. He couldn't really settle, couldn't really keep up with the pace, I don't think, of the Premier League. And obviously, he's been back at Everton now for a matter of weeks. He's gone over to Florida. He scored, obviously, in the Florida Cup. But other than the goal, he didn't really look very involved. And if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I think if you were to sit down with Moise Kean now and ask, look, what do you want your future to be? Sorry, tickly throat. Where do you want your future to be? I think you would probably say either at PSG or moving on into a different league. I just don't think he particularly wants to be at Everton at the moment. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not wrong, who knows? But that is really, really interesting there, because Inter Milan, of course, we know, or we assume, will soon be looking for a new striker. Romelu Lukaku heavily linked with a move to Chelsea. Apparently in the news today, according to Matt Law of The Telegraph, I believe Matt Law is said that Romelu Lukaku will accept a move to Chelsea. He will be, he'll be more than happy to rejoin the London club, of course, who he left 7-8 years ago to join Everton, which, by the way, is another it's another story. The Lukaku stuff, isn't it? It's going to absolutely kill me seeing Romelu Lukaku back in the Premier League wearing blue and not wearing Everton blue. It'll absolutely kill me. I don't think I'll be able to cope with watching Romelu Lukaku play against Everton in the Premier League again. I just don't know how that one will go. But like I said, strong rumours coming out of not just Italian press, but even British press at the moment regarding Romelu Lukaku and a potential move to Chelsea. Inter Milan will then, of course, be looking for a replacement for him. And Moise Kean, I think, fits the bill. He's young. He obviously come over from the Italian league when, before he joined Everton. He was at Juventus. I think he'd do more than a good enough job in the Italian league. I really do. I think the pace of the league would suit him. Obviously, he was at PSG last season, done really well, competed in the Champions League, showed his quality, showed his ability to turn up in big games, scored in the Champions League quarter-final against Barcelona at the Nou Camp. So I think when I read this, and albeit okay, it's again it's coming from the Italian media, and the Italian media have linked Everton with about 427 players over the last 3 weeks. So if we're to believe everything the Italian media say, then we'll probably be signing another 12 players before the end of the transfer window. However, as soon as I read this rumour, I thought that makes sense. It makes sense that if Inter Milan were to need a replacement for Lukaku, then Moise Kean would come into their thinking. He's a striker, currently wanting a new club, or seemingly wants a new club. He's played in Italy before. Obviously, he's Italian. He'll be wanting to play games of football and play at a consistent level, because he'll be wanting to get in that Italian World Cup squad next year. He just missed out on the Italian Euro squad. I think he was part of the preliminary squad before obviously they chopped the numbers down, and obviously if he wouldn't have missed out on the Italian Euro squad, he'd have ended up getting a medal. So Moise Kean will want to do all that he can to ensure that he's a part of that Italian World Cup squad for next year. And in order to do that, he's going to have to obviously play somewhere where he's comfortable and he knows he can play well. The Italian league is his home. Italy is his home. Now, I know, obviously, there was reasons why he moved away from Italy, which means that he mightn't want to go back, and we don't know that. We don't know that, but this one, for me, I understand it. I'd understand why Inter Milan were looking at Moise Kean. I really, really would. I'd understand why Inter Milan were we're sort of eyeing Moise Kean up as a potential replacement for Romelu Lukaku. Whether or not there's anything in this, I'm sure we'll see. And whether or not Moise Kean, like I said, would want to return to Italy, for all we know, Moise Kean might have tunnel vision on going back to PSG, and that's it. He mightn't be interested on moving anywhere else. He might just be thinking, right, I want to go back to PSG. That if I'm not going back to PSG, then I'll stay here and fight for my course at Everton. But I just thought it was really, really interesting there. Fabrizio Romano coming out and saying that Everton won't allow Moise Kean to leave on loan, which again I think is A, spot on from Everton, and B, I think is news that I don't think any of us are surprised by. And then obviously Rudy Galletti coming out and saying that Inter Milan could potentially turn to Moise Kean for a possible replacement for Romelu Lukaku, which is obviously really, really interesting as well. Let us know your thoughts on that in the comment section down below. Let us know your thoughts on the Matheus Nunes stuff as well. Really, really interesting stuff there. We are going to talk a little bit more about James Rodriguez in a moment as well. If you're enjoying the stream, please hit that like button. It does only take a second if you're new. Don't forget to subscribe. We're flying towards, I think we're 9-10 subscribers away from 4.8k now, so if you could subscribe if you haven't already, it would mean a great deal to me. And if you could share the stream as well, that would be absolutely brilliant. For anybody watching the stream using headphones, let me know if the stream is now coming out of both ears. I think I fixed the issue that we had on Monday where the stream was only playing out of one ear. I think I fixed it now, so if you're watching using headphones, let us know if that is fixed. Let's get into some of the live comments then before we move on to James Rodriguez, because again, I think he is probably the biggest topic of conversation today. By the way, as well, before we get into the live comments, Aston Villa today have confirmed the signing of Leon Bailey for around £30 million from Bayer Leverkusen. Yeah, gutting. Obviously, really, really gutting. To be honest, I'm not really sure completely how I feel about Aston Villa signing Leon Bailey, because on one hand, I'm absolutely gutted. Because I think Leon Bailey was a player that Everton should have been looking at. I really do think Leon Bailey was a player that Everton should have been pursuing. But on the other hand, Everton were never really said to be in the conversation. Okay, there was a couple of rumours, early on, which stated that Everton were in direct battle with Aston Villa for Leon Bailey, and it was between Everton and Aston Villa. But there was no real sort of, again, solid rumours coming from any real reputable sources to state that it was a direct race between Everton and Aston Villa. It always seemed like, although Everton were interested in Leon Bailey and had watched Leon Bailey for years, which we've known anyway, they weren't really in that race. They weren't really in that conversation. It was only really ever Aston Villa. So when he was officially signed this morning and obviously announced as a Villa player this morning, on one hand I was thinking Everton have missed a sick there, but on another hand I was thinking Everton weren't even really in that race for Leon Bailey, probably because we couldn't afford to be in that race for Leon Bailey. Everton can't afford to spend £30 million at the moment on a winger. Certainly not a winger who I believe Bayer Leverkusen were wanting a significant upfront fee for. We just couldn't offer that, at the minute. So I don't really know where to stand on the Leon Bailey stuff. I'm gutted he's gone to Villa because I think he's a brilliant player. I would have loved him at Everton, but it's not like Everton were head-to-head with Aston Villa until the finish line, and then Leon Bailey chose Aston Villa, and we're all sitting here going, oh, that's gutting. It seems like Everton were not really massively in that race, which means that we can't really be too upset because Everton weren't really, that heavy on Leon Bailey by the looks of things. Now, for whatever reason that is, whether that's because we haven't got the money to be, whether that's because we're looking at older alternatives, or whether that's just because we didn't think Leon Bailey was worth that amount of money, we don't know. But yeah, interesting one, of course. Interesting one. I think the mad thing is with Aston Villa, look, Volks Park says there in the comments, Villa looking strong. Good luck to them, like Villa. There you go. Basically says give Cam a like, and Volk says get those likes up, people. No, God, I'd be even in here. Yeah, if you could hit the like button, it would mean a great deal to me. It really, really would. Thank you all very much. But no, it's a mad one, isn't it, the Villa situation? Because yes, they've just signed Leon Bailey, and obviously they've got Buendia, who's a fantastic player, and they have strengthened massively, but they're going to lose Jack Grealish. They're absolutely going to lose Jack Grealish. There's reports in the media today that he's due in Manchester for his Manchester City medical within the next 24 hours, and he could even be unveiled as a Manchester City player over the next couple of days, which would mean he'd be available for the Community Shield fixture at the weekend. So it's not even a case of whether or not Jack Grealish will go to Manchester City now. All of the reports we're reading at the moment is, the fact that he could even be unveiled soon enough to be a part of Manchester City's Community Shield fixture at the weekend. So, again, yes, Aston Villa have strengthened, and they've brought in Leon Bailey, who's a brilliant player, and they've brought in Emi Buendia, who's a brilliant player, but they've lost their captain, they've lost their leader, they've lost their talisman, they've lost their player who wins them 45 free kicks every game, scores them countless amounts of massive goals a season. And again, for as good as the players they are that have brought in, they've lost, let's be honest, their best player by quite a significant stretch, and it'll be interesting to see how Aston Villa do. Everton FL says we're not close to signing anyone. Again, the title of the live stream is based off a report that is being put out there on the internet. So I'm not stating that Everton are close to signing anybody. I'm not coming on here and giving any information that nobody else knows. Hence why there's a question mark at the end of a title. You will always find on our streams, on Toffee TV streams, on the majority of fan channel streams, you will always see whatever the title is, there will probably be a question mark at the end of it, because I don't know that Everton are close to reaching an agreement for Matheus Nunes. And if I was to go out on a limb, I'd probably say that we're probably not, because we were close to reaching an agreement 2 months ago. In fact, some journalists in Portugal even said that we'd signed him 2 months ago and it was all agreed, and that obviously faded away. So it's purely the report that obviously is the headline of the stream. Same old Everton says, hi Cameron. Take everything with a grain of salt. We've heard this sort of headline with Matheus Nunes many times before. Yep, you're spot on, mate. JP says, hey Cam, Rafa taking no prisoners. Gotta say, I have my doubts, but he won't take any bullshit. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, spot on, mate. Stephen says, another day in lovely Gotham City. Come on, you Blues. Is right with me. Says, hey guys, hi mate, how you doing? Forgotten World of Movie says, morning Cam, how are you, mate? I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you? Hope doing well. Stephen says, Cam, you're the man. Keep it coming, my mate. Thank you very much. Andy says, morning, mate. Morning, Andy. Hope you're well, mate. Danboy says, Nunes thing is all beat. No chance we spend 20 million on a centre midfielder when we are crying out for a right back and a winger. Well, it's 50 million euro, isn't it? Which would be about, what, £9 million, something like that. So not an awful lot of money, but I understand where you're coming from. We have got other priorities on the pitch to sort. But who knows? Who knows whether the Matheus Nunes deal will correlate with maybe Andre Gomez leaving the football club or Fabian Delph leaving the football club, and that's why we're bringing Matheus Nunes in. Dylan says Leon Bailey has signed for Villa. He has. Alfie says, alright lad, alright Alfie, hope you're doing well. Danboy says, I wish we trusted our youngsters more. Sims had the better scoring record at youth level than Greenwood. Why were United happy to chuck him in, but Sims is nowhere near the Everton team. And with Dobbin, Lewis Dobbin is very, very young. Scored a hat-trick again last night. I think he scored 3 hat-tricks in pre-season so far, but he's very, very young. I think what we have to understand is that the difference between under 18s level and under 23s level is a massive jump up, and the difference between under 23s level and Premier League level is an even bigger jump. So it's very easy to say Lewis Dobbin scored an hat-trick week in, week out, for the under 23s, so why isn't he getting a go in the first team? But that jump from the first team, from the under 23 to the first team, is absolutely gigantic. And I'm not saying that young players who are performing in the under 23 shouldn't be given a chance. If they're good enough, they should be given a chance. But if they're good enough, then the coaching staff will know that they're good enough. We only see these lads, in game scenarios, don't we? We see Lewis Dobbin scoring a hat-trick last night. We see him scoring a hat-trick multiple times over pre-season for Everton under 23s. We see Ellis Sims bagging in goals for Blackpool. But the coaching staff, the manager, like Duncan Ferguson, Rafael Benitez, he'll have seen Lewis Dobbin coming up against, Michael Keane, coming up against Ben Godfrey, coming up against Luca Dean, coming up against Seamus Coleman. Will be coming up against Jordan Pickford over the next couple of days. Yerry Mina returned to training, which we know Yerry Mina, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Jordan Pickford have all returned to training. They'll see Ellis Sims coming up against these Premier League players. And for all as we might sit in and say, Ellis Sims was brilliant last season for Blackpool. Why isn't he given a chance this season for Everton? Why isn't he in and around Everton's first team? Lewis Dobbin's doing brilliantly for the under-23s. Why isn't he in and around Everton's first team? The coaching staff might see these players against our first team and go, they're not good enough to play Premier League level yet. They're just not good enough. You might have Ellis Sims playing let's say a 60-minute practice game at USM Finch Farm against the first team and do nothing for that entire game because he's just not at that level to play against defenders that are playing in the Premier League week in, week out. And I think that's what we have to think about with it. Whereas when Mason Greenwood, for example, was playing at Man United, he might have been ripping the likes of Harry Maguire and Eric Bailly to bits, and that's why the manager's gone, actually, do you know what, this kid is a special talent, let's get him in the Premier League squad. but I understand where you come from. Chris says, morning all. Damon says, alright, Cam, seen the reports on this yesterday and called it. We need to go for a right back next. Well, hopefully we go for the right back first. You know, for as much as I think Matheus Nunes would be a decent signing, I think a right back is an absolute necessity. If you're enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It only takes a second, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. John says, let's hope there is a master plan we'll all be happy with on the 1st of September. Hope so. And Amber says, imagine having Sims, Dobbin and Gordon in the first team mix, young hungry players all fighting for the shirt. I'd take that over a washed up Champions League player. Well, again, I understand it, and I do think that we'll see a lot of young players in the mix next season. Mightn't necessarily be Ellis Sims, mightn't necessarily be Lewis Dobson. I think Ellis Sims needs another loan out, and I think Lewis Dobbin will probably maybe go out on loan as well, or have another season in the 23s. But the likes of Anthony Gordon, Jared Branthwaite, I think we might see a little bit more involved in first team action next season. But like I said, it's all about if these players are good enough to compete with Premier League level players. There's no good saying, Ellis Sims has looked amazing for Blackpool in League 2, or Lewis Dobbins looked amazing for the under-23s, but if these players aren't up to Premier League level, which is a good chance they're not, because it's very, very difficult to take that step up from youth football to Premier League football, then they're not going to be in and around that team. They're not going to be in and around the first team, and that's the way it is. Glenn says, Cam, can we see the shirt you're wearing, please? I like that kit. It's the black and gold goalkeeper kit from last season, mate. I think it was the 3rd goalkeeper kit. And EFC Kelly says, Cam, apparently Nunes can play right back. Yeah, I've seen some reports saying that Matheus Nunes can fit in at right back. I think he's played right midfield in a formation that suits like a 5 at the back, so almost like a right wing back sort of. He can play on the right. I think he can play through the centre as well. So yeah, we'll have to see how this one pans out. Am I confident that Matheus Nunes will become an Everton player? Not at the moment, no. But I'm sure, like I said, again, you never know. We could be sitting here today with no news whatsoever, or very minimal bits and bobs to scrape off, and we could be sitting here tomorrow talking about somebody having the medical at Everton. We did it with Demarai Gray, didn't we? I sat here on a Monday. Demarai Gray's name wasn't even in the conversation, wasn't even thinking about him. And on the Tuesday, Everton went in advanced talks to sign him, and a couple of days later he was an Everton player and he was playing for Everton in the Florida Cup. So things can change very, very quickly in football, very, very quickly. Anyway, let's get on to some more of the latest transfer rumours then, before we finish up. James Rodriguez is of course a name that has been in the media over the last 24 hours, quite a significant amount. Sky Sports tweeted out yesterday that James Rodriguez will be allowed to leave Everton this summer if the right offer is made. James has become unsettled at Everton. A move for James isn't imminent, and he is expected to play against Manchester United this Saturday. Again, obviously in that final pre-season game before the beginning of the season. The Mail Sport said James Rodriguez's most likely destination is AC Milan. However, Porto are also interested. His agent Jorge Mendes has offered James to Atletico Madrid and Napoli. I think James Rodriguez had a Twitch stream a couple of days ago. Well, he did have a Twitch stream. We spoke about it on Monday, didn't we? And I think he mentioned Italy and how he hasn't played in Italy and sort of toyed around the idea of going over to Italy, which is really, really interesting. But look, the latest on the James stuff, Sky Sports, they're saying that although he's become unsettled, apparently, and is likely to move, it's not likely that deal will be imminent, and he's likely to play against Manchester United in the final pre-season game on Saturday, which is really, really interesting, because I look at that and think, well, if there's no imminent deal and James is likely to play against Manchester United on Saturday, then how likely is it that he is to play against Southampton the week after in the opening Premier League game of the season? And if so, could there be a change of mind from Rafael Benitez and from James Rodriguez about his future if he is to play in front of a full capacity Goodison Park on the opening game of the season? Because I honestly think James Rodriguez playing in front of a full capacity crowd at Goodison Park, I just don't think that's an atmosphere he'll have ever experienced before. And look, maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm biased. There'll be some Liverpool fans probably coming up saying, he's played at the Bernabeu, he's played in World Cups, and you're saying he won't have played in the better atmosphere than Goodison. Trust me, if you've never been to a full packed out Goodison Park, especially a full packed out Goodison Park when the majority of Evertonians haven't been for 18, 20 months, that atmosphere on the Saturday the 14th will be absolutely electric. Absolutely electric. And I think James Rodriguez is a player who deserves to witness that atmosphere, and I think witnessing that atmosphere could be a decision maker in what he decides to do with his future. Now, maybe it won't be a decision maker for Rafael Benitez. Maybe Rafael Benitez has already made his decision. Everton have already made the decision, and they will be accepting an offer for James Rodriguez if one comes in. But I just think, let's be honest, we all want to see James Rodriguez play at Goodison, don't we? We all want to see James Rodriguez, in front of a full capacity crowd, spraying passes left, right and centre, moving the ball forward, hitting shots from 35, 40 yards. We all want to see it. Of course, we all want to see it. He's one of the best footballers technically on the planet, especially if he's going to leave the football club. We all want to see it before he leaves. So, interesting stuff about James. Really, really interesting stuff. Again, we spoke about him on Monday, and we spoke about, whether or not it would be the right move for him to leave Everton Football Club. It's a difficult one for me. It's a difficult one because I think, on one hand, I understand, given the financial situation that Everton are in, given the wages that James Rodriguez is currently on, and given the fact that he's, his contract situation, he's coming into he's in the last year of his contract, isn't he? Unless it gets extended, which I don't think it will. If we receive let's say a 10, 15 million pound bid for him, something like that, that's 10, 15 million pound we can, reinvest in the squad, in other key areas that we need to improve in. So I'm sort of torn. I understand both sides of the story. I want James Rodriguez to stay at Everton. I can't sit here and lie. I really, really, really want James Rodriguez to stay at Everton. I think he's a player who creatively is just a player we cannot afford to lose. Whether he has an injury record that isn't great, or whether he's coming into the last year of his contract, or whatever, he has a creative record in regards to goal scoring, assisting, chances created, that we simply can't afford to let go. And I think a lot of the reasons behind Evertonians sort of being hesitant on their opinions on James Rodriguez leaving is because of that lack of trust at the club. It's, if Everton were to come out and say, right, we're going to sell James Rodriguez because of the fact that he's on, upwards of £200,000 a week, which we simply just can't afford at the moment. He's coming into the last year of his contract, so if we don't sell him this summer, he'll leave on a free next season. We can get a decent, reasonable amount of money for him, and he is, he's obviously struggled with injuries last season, and he spent a lot of time out, but we're going to replace him with, again, obviously, I know this isn't possible now, a Leon Bailey, a Diaby, a Rafael Lau, a player that we can all sit here and go, well, okay, it's sad that we're losing James, and I'm gutted, but we're replacing those goals and assists with this lad who's coming in. We're replacing them with X or Y who's going to come in, and be a younger sort of alternative to James Rodriguez. But I think a lot of the worry behind the James Rodriguez situation is the lack of trust and faith that we have as a fan base in the club. The reason as to why we're all sort of a little bit, why are we allowing James to go, don't let him leave, I don't necessarily think is, obviously it's because of how good he is as a player and his quality as a player. He's absolutely unbelievable. Louis says James is on 90k a week, but I get what you're saying. I think he's on a bit more than that, mate. From reports I've read, I think he's on a bit more than that. And Daniel says, imagine if everyone liked the video. Yeah, if you could like the video, it would mean a great deal to me. It really, really would. Big thanks. But look, obviously we don't want to lose James Rodriguez for his quality and his ability on the pitch and his creativity and the fact that he's a world-class footballer, as well as obviously his off-the-field presence. We spoke about all of this on Monday. But I think a big part of it is because we don't trust the club to replace them goals. And ultimately, look, whether James Rodriguez is going to spend 15, 20 games out injured next season or not, James Rodriguez played 25 games last season, which was still a good amount of games, but a lot less than some other players played, and he still managed to be our most creative player. Obviously other than Dominic Calvert-Lewin in regards to goals, I think he scored the most goals in the Everton team, most assists maybe other than Luca Dean in that Everton team as well. So it's not just about losing James Rodriguez and his quality. It's about how we replace those goals, how we replace those assists, how we replace that creativity. And I just don't trust Everton to go and replace that creativity. I don't. Okay, we've brought in a couple of really smart and really shrewd signings this summer so far, and Damari Gray for $1.5 million. Obviously, Andros Townsend for on a free as well, which are two really, really shrewd signings. But I don't think you're going to get, whatever it was, 7 goals and 9 assists from those two players. I just don't think you're going to get that. So they're not going to replace James Rodriguez's creativity. They're not going to replace the numbers that James Rodriguez brings in. So that's my biggest worry with the James situation. Yes, I don't want to sell him because I want him to stay at Everton Football Club because he's an amazing footballer. He's a world superstar. But it's more the fact that I'm worried that we won't replace, you know, that creativity and those numbers that James brings. And Everton can't afford to not replace that, by the way. Everton aren't a club in a situation to be able to sit here and go, yeah, we'll lose, you know, 9 assists and 6 goals a season and we won't replace it. We're already in a situation where we only have 3 players that score goals. One of them was James, one's Dominic Calvert-Lewin and one's Richarlison. Now Richarlison had an off season last season, which, you know, ultimately, you know, we didn't need. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think, will improve again next season, but what if he doesn't? What if he has a bit of a struggle season? We don't have goals in this squad. We don't have goals in this team, and we can't afford to lose goals and not replace them. Andy says both headphones working today, Cam. Cheers, Andy. Really appreciate that, my mate. But yeah, look, again, we'll have to wait and see what happens with the James situation. I fear that James will leave Everton now. I do, unfortunately. I don't want him to. I don't want him to leave, but I just fear that that's the situation that we're in. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully I'm wrong. But, you know, we'll wait and see. Dan Boy says, yeah, Liam, Sam, mate, let's buy Yarmolenko and give him 120k a week instead of trusting a young Evertonian in the team. Well, again, Yarmolenko is a different. I suppose bringing in Yarmolenko for 120k a week wouldn't really be what we want him to be doing anyway. Louis says, don't know then, lad, defo not on 190. He's on something like that, I'm sure, Louis. Liam says, no way next season Gordon will be Richie's replacement. He's not good enough. We won't read of Richarlison replacements. I firmly believe Richarlison will stay at the club. I do. I firmly believe Richarlison will stay at the football club. He's been allowed to go over to the Olympics, obviously, after the Copa America. He'll have missed the entirety of pre-season. He'll obviously miss probably the first 3 weeks of the Premier League season because he'll have to go on holiday and get a break and have a rest and stuff. So I firmly believe, as Rafael Benitez said in his first press conference, we've allowed Richarlison to go to the Olympics on the basis that he gives us something back, aka another season, and I think he will do that. EFC Kelly says, why can't he? Gordon has definitely got potential. He has got potential, but it's about fulfilling that potential, isn't it? I suppose there's been a lot of footballers over the years who've had potential but not fulfilled it. John Jones says, yeah, but he only picks up 100k a week after tax and has to pay his Lecce bill. Mango says, if he is indeed on 10 million a year, then as long as our recruitment is good, we could get 2 high quality players. Days of Daft FC paying a walkout on 6 mil have to end. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's all about the recruitment. If you were to put a recruitment plan in front of most Evertonians and say, okay, bear with me here, we lose James, but we bring in X, Y, and Z who are going to replace his goals. You know, the younger players, they're going to be here to fight for the club and they're going to take us forward. And I think we'd all go, do you know what? You know, sad that we're losing James, but we'll take that and we'll move forward. But it's that lack of trust for Everton to replace the creativity that James brings. Louis said Bernard was our highest paid player and was on 120. That he was our highest paid player when he joined. I don't think I wouldn't have said he was our highest paid player. You know, as of recently, personally. And again, as Dan Boy says, no wages are official, but the stuff gets leaked a lot. Official wages we don't know of. So again, we can't say for a fact, can we? Matt says, James, he was meant to be the main element of our American growth strategy and a reason for Florida. We would lose merch and other income, but we would. And I suppose that's another reason to keep James Rodriguez is because of that global sort of pull that he has. Glenn says, let's get the stream to 75 likes before the end. If we could, that would be absolutely amazing. If you could hit that like button if you haven't already, that would be perfect. Thank you all very much. Danboy says one more loan for Gordon, then he can be our left winger when Richie leaves next season. Well, yeah, interesting to see how we would do on loan, isn't it? We'd go from there, I suppose. Daniel says Gabamon look like a new signing, power pace and a forward run past what we've needed since Garner left. Ironic he was his replacement, but he's like a new signing 3 years later. Yeah, spot on. If John Philip Gabamon can keep fit, I think he'll be an absolutely brilliant player next season. I really, really do. Glenn says, Mr. Fantastic, what score would you give this season's kits from Hummel out of 10? 10 perfection, 0 worst ever, 5 average set of kits. I'll give a 9, to be honest with you, a 9. Volk says, love the kits. There you go. Volk says, should have a kit with the legends of Everton and Goodison faded into the background. Interesting. Matt says, will be interesting to see if Rafa plays him or bench for the first game. James, it will be. If he's still here, it will be. You're right. Glenn says 65 likes, need 10 more to get to 75 before we finish. If we could hit that like button, it would be brilliant. Thank you all very, very much. EFC Kelly says, we need a quick right back. We're so obvious in games. We just spray the ball out to Dean and hope for a good cross. Yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it, really? Dan says, hi Cam, how do you think... do you think... I'm not too bad, mate. Do you think James is off? Unfortunately, my gut says yes. I don't want him to be, but my gut says yes. Louis says, Hummel over Nike every day. Well, yeah, at least we get some bespoke kits with Hummel and not just the same old nonsense. Dumfries is favouring Inter. That's what he's told his agent, according to Joseph. Yeah, that's according to what we're reading in the news at the moment. But again, we'll wait and see on that one. Mino Raiola is very good at these type of situations, isn't he? Let's just say that. Dave says, gutted, we needed Leon Bailey. McNeil is too slow. Gutted. I like Dwight McNeil technically, but I don't think he's quick enough to play on the wing for Everton. And for the money he'd cost, I think we could go and get a better alternative, to be honest with you. Samboy says, cheers, Kyle John, Gordon, Sims, Onyango, Branthwaite, Dobbin, Welsh, Price and Kiarte, all very promising signings. Apparently, according to Sportsac, James Rodriguez signed a 2-year deal, 9,360,000 contract with Everton FC, including an annual average salary of 4.6 million. There you go. John says, spot on, Dan boy. So yeah, look, again, we don't know what's going to happen with James Rodriguez, do we? Will he stay? Will he leave? My gut says that he'll leave. Unfortunately, that is because I want him to stay. I really, really do. Just before we go, Sport Witness released a article yesterday saying a move to AC Milan is possible for Everton midfielder James Rodriguez, but only if Rafael Lau agrees to go the other way, which is really, really interesting. Rafael Lau would be unbelievable. He would be absolutely unbelievable if we could get him, but unfortunately, I don't think that we will. And to be honest, I don't think that James Rodriguez will go to Inter either. It will go to AC Milan either, to be honest with you. I think if he was to leave, again, maybe AC going to Italy, but I don't know. But look, again, we'll wait and see how the James Rodriguez situation obviously goes in the next couple of days and weeks. Anyway, look, we're going to finish it up there then. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. Dennis says, all right, Cam, you have any thoughts on the massive transfer from City and Chelsea? Yeah, they are running away with it, really, aren't they? If Manchester City sign Jack Grealish and Harry Kane this summer, then it leaves Chelsea with no choice but to sign either Erling Haaland or Romelu Lukaku, which then ultimately leaves Manchester United with no choice but to sign the other. So I think you could see Harry Kane and Jack Grealish at Manchester City, which would make Manchester City, they won the league by 12 points last season. That makes them at least 25 points winners, clearly. You then have Chelsea signing Romelu Lukaku, which makes them a lot more stronger than what they are at the moment. And then you might see Manchester United going out. They've already brought in Jadon Sancho, maybe even bringing in an Erling Haaland. So then you've got Manchester United, Man City and Chelsea, who will be, for me, 10 points above anybody else in the league. Then you've got your Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal, Everton, West Ham, Leicester, all fighting for the other places. But if those three clubs sign the players that are being linked with, then there's no chance of anybody else winning the league other than probably Manchester City, but other than definitely one of those three clubs. But yeah, obviously we'll wait and see. Dennis says they're leaving us all behind. They are, and this is what financial fair play does to clubs. It should be called financial unfair play, because effectively what it is making sure that those clubs at the top are looked after and they can spend whatever they want to spend, and the clubs that are trying to get to those clubs at the top and trying to reach them and trying to become a disruptor brand per se, aren't really allowed, and they're just sort of pushed to the side and told, yeah, you just stay over there and, you just hover around, 9th, 10th and don't really disturb us. And that's why FFP and the Premier League's FFP rules are disgusting, but there you go. Matt says, great show again. Cheers, mate. Really appreciate it. Dan says, I don't want to play that can play on the wing. I want a winger. Spot on, mate. Spot on. Tom Gibbons says, Lau can play striker, left wing and number 10. Damien says, Cam, there was a lot of talk of a swap deal with Kean and Lau. Yeah, there was, but again, that seems to quieten down at the moment. Jab says we were close to getting Nunes a month ago, Cam. It'll be journalist rubbish, but we were. Let's wait and see what happens with this one and how it goes over the next couple of days. Danbury says nobody in Goodison is booing Rafa next Saturday. Nobody in Goodison is doing anything other than cheering their throats off until they can't speak after the game. Let's be honest. Danbury says Yarmolenko was sarcasm. You get me point out, Cam. There you go. John says we can do a Leicester. I don't think anyone can do a Leicester anymore, to be honest with you. I don't, because I just don't think the rules allow it now. Damien says, Bishes, you have known we can't do nothing because of FFP, but City can fork out 200 million on 2 players. How is that fair? It's all about revenue, isn't it, and how much certain clubs make. And Louis says, nice one, Cam. Great team again, lad. Cheers. John says, great show. Thanks, Cam. Cheers, John. Really appreciate that, my mate. And Tom says, how can United spend so much with so few? It's because FFP doesn't work. So, just briefly, I don't know anything about FFP, but what I know from a brief is that FFP doesn't work on the basis of that you can... so, your FFP isn't worked out. So, you can lose £105 million a season, I think, or £105 million over 3 seasons it might be, but it doesn't work in the way of that, you know, your financial situation isn't only decided by the players you sell and the players you bring in. So for example, Manchester United haven't sold anyone this summer of any note, but they've gone and signed Jadon Sancho. Now that's not because the FFP doesn't work on the fact that they haven't sold anyone, so they can't sign anybody. It works on their global income. So Manchester United can go and spend 200 million this summer because they're the biggest footballing brand on the planet, or certainly one of the biggest footballing brands on the planet. They're bringing in sponsorship deals for hundreds of million. They're bringing in, you know, they're selling their kits all around the world for however many millions they bring in. Their names out there, their merchandise, their, you know, like I said, their season tickets, their hospitality, all of that sort of stuff works in for it. So it's going off your income, which is sponsorship deals, like I said, merchandise sales, season ticket sales, you know, hospitality, all of that sort of stuff, and then that gets put against your expenditure. Hence why Manchester City can spend an awful lot of money, because their, you know, income will be absolutely through the roof now because of how big of a global brand they are at the moment. Same with Manchester United, same with Chelsea. Chelsea are a massive global brand. Everton aren't a massive global brand. So although we've got the money to spend, you know, Farhad Moshiri has openly said he's got the money to spend, because we don't make the money that those other clubs make, we can't spend the money that those other clubs spend. So it's effectively it's anti-competition. There you go. Matt says total loss over 3 years, so it's 105 million over 3 years, I believe. And John Jones says it's the Prem rules, not FFP, according to Baz. It's the Prem rules. FFP doesn't thingy to us because we're not in Europe, but the Prem rules are very similar to FFP. And John Jones says you can get 200 million from share sales in China, but can have Usmanov give you 200 million. Crazy. That's it. And I know, and I get, listen, some people go, well, why can't Usmanov just sponsor a toilet then for 400 million? But it's got to be, again, it's got to be warranted. So, you know, let's say, I've seen some people say, well, can't Megaphone just sponsor, you know, the centre circle or something for 500 million? Well, then, no, because the Premier League would then look at Man United and go, well, they haven't got a centre circle partnership. Liverpool haven't got a centre circle partnership. Or their mains partnership's only 100 million, so Everton can't have one for 500 million because Man United are this global brand and Everton are down here. So that doesn't make any sense. So it's anti-competition, basically. It's anti-competition. Anyway, look, we're going to finish it up there then. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. 82 likes, that's absolutely unbelievable. Really, really do appreciate it. If you could hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, it would be absolutely fantastic. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Like I said, flying towards 4,800 subscribers now, so if you could hit that big button, it would mean a great deal to me. We will be back with another live stream tomorrow, so look out for that one. Hopefully some more Everton news to chat about. But anyway, until then, massive thank you for watching. Really appreciate everyone getting involved in the live comments. If you're watching a YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and we will get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.